First thing that came in my mind was having to explain to everyone that I quit because I couldn't calm my breathing. And as soon as I got onto my bike, it was hot. It was extremely hot. I wasn't prepared for this altitude. I underestimated this altitude. Did you even train for this race? And that, like, all right, welcome back to post half Ironman Boulder, Colorado. Technically week 18 or episode 18. I'm going to start off with this. First and foremost, it's official. I am horrible at swimming, open water swimming. I'll continue with that later, but I want to just put that out there now. First of all, the Ironman experience was amazing. The Boulder, Colorado was amazing. For those who are new, I trained for this half Ironman and I ran it with Adley. And it was his first Ironman. It is my second Ironman. This is my first half Ironman. And my first Ironman was a full Ironman in Sacramento. So one of the things that I felt that I didn't perform to my expectations on the full Ironman was the swimming. And fortunately for the swim, we were going downstream. And in 2.4 miles, I swam, I think, 55 minutes or something. And the goal for the second Ironman was to challenge my swim in a different environment. So I'll explain. When we did the Sacramento River, we swam down the American River to the Sacramento River. So there was a current, and at that time, the excuse that I had was that the wetsuit that I bought, it was very buoyant in the hips, and I felt like the buoyancy was pushing my head underwater. So I didn't feel like I successfully swam the Ironman swim portion. Now the cycling, not a problem. Running, not a problem. To me, the first portion of the event, which is the swim, that was my issue. So when I signed up for this half Ironman in Colorado, I really wanted to control the environment. In other words, no stream, which means the water was calm, which means I had to swim the course or the distance as opposed to swimming and then allowing the current to take me. No wildlife. We were in a reservoir. I didn't feel the irrational fear of sharks or, sea lions like there was in the American River and Sacramento River. So that fear of the wildlife, wanted to make sure that I took that out. So reservoir didn't have that. So I had no fear of the water. The visibility was, I don't know, maybe this much in front of you. No current, no wildlife. This was the test for me to see if I can swim or not. I also used my old wetsuit, the one that I felt comfortable with, the one that was broken in. I've swam in it before. To me, that was my go-to, my security blanket. So since I lost the Roka or the tri suit or the tri wetsuit, I went with good old faithful. So all these things were controlled. I had no excuse. So I jumped in, I felt confident, and as soon as I got in, my heart rate went up, and it went up fast. It got to the point where I couldn't breathe. I was taking in water, started to panic a little bit, but because of my jujitsu, anytime you're in a vulnerable position, right? You have to learn how to relax. You have to learn your technique, and you have to kind of not let panic overwhelm your thought processes. So as soon as I start feeling myself panicking, that black belt experience kicked in, and I had to go with what was comfortable, which was being on my back and backstroking. And because we're in high elevation, I couldn't get my heart rate down. Couldn't breathe. And there was a kayaker there, which was the lifeguard, making sure that all the swimmers were safe. I had to hold on to one of the kayaks. And right there, I knew. Right when I held on, I was like, I'm already failing. And for a split second, my mind went to, why am I doing this? Just call it quits. And the first thing that came to my mind was having to explain to everyone that I quit because I couldn't calm my breathing and swimming and to swim. And I just started backstroking. And obviously I'm not that fast in backstroking. So I had to be aware of the time. The time limit for the swimming was an hour and 10 minutes. So I start swimming, and as I'm backstroking, I'm looking at my watch because I'm looking to see how much time I have left. And I'm doing the math in my head, thinking, okay, I need to speed it up, or I can't rest anymore, or you got to get going. And as soon as I finished the swim, I finished at 1 hour and 6 minutes. I'm very disappointed. Not only was the swim difficult for me, it threw everything off in the race. And I say that because my heart rate went up higher than it should have. I'm now struggling to finish this course or the swim course. I'm expending a lot of energy, and I'm using my legs more than I would have if I was freestyling. So when I get out, I was winded. Like, I got out of the water and I'm hands on my knees, breathing as hard and as fast as I can. And soon, I made it, hour and 6 minutes by 4 minutes. And as soon as I got onto my bike, it was hot. It was extremely hot. I didn't have I had one water bottle in my bike, and I got on my bike, went to grab some water, put it into the little water case on my bike, and it fell. And once it fell, I'm like, okay, well, I don't have any water, but I'm sure I'll hit a water station soon. The water station wasn't around until probably an hour and 10 minutes, or hour and 15 minutes past the transition area. So my mouth it was dry. Like right now, my lips are chapped. This high altitude in Colorado is insane on my body. So my lips are dry, and I'm just like, the internal voice is like kicking in again. And I'm cycling, I'm like, where's this water station? And luckily, I saw a water bottle on the floor, and I stopped my bike, picked up a water bottle, and I just downed it. Luckily, it was full, so it wasn't drunken out of, and it saved me until the water station came. So that first half of that cycling was a struggle, and the first half is all uphill and rolling hills. After that, it was like downhill and flat, and I booked it. I didn't catch my second wind until that second half of the course, right? It's a whole loop. So once I got to the halfway mark, that downhill was when I started kicking in. And after I hit that, that water bottle, that fountain that a water bottle I drank out of, I finally hit the water station, and I just packed. I have two little water cases. I put them in there, and I have put one in my bag. So I carried three, anticipating the next lap because it's hot, and I want to make sure that I am prepared. And once I had what I needed, the water, my second wind kicked in, and I was flying. To me, the cycling was my best event and my most comfortable event. And at one point, going downhill, I clocked 38 miles an hour, 38.5 miles an hour. I was flying. Like, I was thinking in my head, I need to catch up. So I finished the cycling portion. And as soon as I got off the bike, my legs were taxed. I mean, it wasn't necessarily the legs. I want to say it's more my cardio. My cardio was taxed. I couldn't breathe. And my heart rate was really high for a pace that I shouldn't have been high. And Adley's dad was watching Kyle. And I guess Kyle could see it in my face, because as soon as I got onto the course to run, he's like, come on, man, I'll run with you. And I was kind of like in my head thinking, why does he want to run with me? Like, and he goes, I got you, no worries, I'll help you. And I'm thinking, what does he see that I don't see? But he must have saw what I felt. And I appreciate him running with me as I struggled on the run. And one of the best things he ever said that made me feel good was, I go, hey, you don't have to run with me. He's like, Omar, you've been there for us meaning his family, Adley, his brother, his sister, I train them all. He goes, you've been there for us, I'll be here for you. And man, that made me feel good. So we're running. My heart rate was just through the roof. I felt like I wasn't even training. Like, I didn't even train for this event. The altitude just really kicked my butt. I wasn't prepared for this altitude. I underestimated this altitude. I used the experience from the first Ironman when I went to Tahoe and I did the cycling. I'm like, oh, I got this. Tahoe is even higher than the elevation here. I think the elevation here is like 5,000 something. So it's not even that much. But I knew, it's like, I'm very, very disappointed in my performance. I mean, even Adley's brother, Beckett, at the end of the race, he's like, did you even train for this race? And that, that was like a little knife in the heart. And, I said, yeah, I trained for this, but I didn't train the elevation. So the elevation really kicked my butt. I underestimated the altitude. So I think with burning so much energy on the swim, I was already behind. There's just nothing I could have done. It was just miserable. Like, I was running. Well, I mean, during the full Ironman for the whole marathon, I didn't stop once to walk. I mean, I stopped had to urinate. But outside of that, I didn't stop to run, to walk. I took care of it. This only being 13 miles, I was walking more than I was running. Again, it just taxed me. And yeah, I underestimated the hills. I underestimated the the elevation. So that's my bad. That's going to be marked up as experience. But overall, I mean, that's just my performance. My performance, I'm very hard on myself. I did complete the half Ironman, and on my full Ironman, I completed the race in 13 hours and 45 minutes. So technically, I should have finished 6.5 hours. I finished just under 8 hours. I mean, and then that I just missed the cutoff as well. I mean, I think it was like a half hour away from not being eligible to finish legitimately on the half Ironman. So, but I will say this: I did hear other people during conversation, while running, they were saying that this course is very difficult because of the hills and elevation. So in a way, it eased my mind thinking, okay, I didn't come unprepared. I mean, I did come unprepared, but I guess my perception of the race was not just my perception; it was other people's perceptions as well. Because there were some people struggling, but yeah, I was not happy with my performance. So experience. I'll learn from that, and I won't do it again. So that's how I felt with my performance. Now, the one thing about Colorado that I've learned is the weather is unpredictable. The weather report said that Saturday was going to be 80 something degrees and calm, and it was 80 something degrees. It might have been a little bit hotter, but it all of a sudden it like that the weather changed. It went from that to then cloudy. Okay, well, cloudy is good because it's not hot, but then it went from cloudy to then it started raining. I'm like, raining? Not only rained, but it hailed. Like I was running and I'm like holding onto my hat, and that's just the hail was kicking my ass. And what was crazy was that as I was running, the portion of the course that I was running when the rain or the hail came in was I was running parallel to the lake. So as I'm running, I heard this noise, like this rumbling noise, and I looked towards the water, and at a distance, I can see the rain. I can hear the rain, and it's just I can hear it coming closer and closer and closer and closer. And all of a sudden, boom! All the hail's hitting me, and I'm, holding my hat. It was windy, but then I also heard that Colorado is known for quick weather changes and quick. It hailed for maybe 10 minutes, 5 minutes, or maybe 10, and then it went away. And then I saw lightning. I was like, man, what is wrong with this place? Like it was just all this, these weather, and it was beautiful to see. Being from California, we don't see lightning or hail that often. So as a observer, it was good to see, but as a participant in a race, feeling all that, it wasn't it wasn't delightful going through that. But it wasn't anything that was going to stop me or prevent me from continuing to run and or finish. So that is my experience with the weather. That is my experience with the race, and the previous episodes were the experience of my preparation that was not useful during the race. Even Adley goes, man, what happened during the swim? Because we started at the same time, and I just saw him go like fast. He goes, you are a rock star. You smash in the pool, right? In the pool, I'm a great swimmer, but in open water, I am horrible. So I need more experience. What I need to do is I need to hire someone, my old coach. I need to hire him again and not focus on the pool, but focus more in the open water. I'm just not understanding why. I mean, I know it comes down to tempo, and it comes down to tempo. I think it's tempo. I just am going too fast, and my heart rate's going too hard. So I got to go back to the drawing board. And one of my goals this year was to run 2 half Ironmans this year. I trained all year last year, trained 6 months this year, and I am pretty much mentally fatigued. So I think I'm not going to run the second half Ironman this year. I'm just going to, take some time off, go back to jujitsu, and kind of rest my mind, rest my body from triathlon training, and come back to it a little bit later. But I really need to address the open water swim with a wetsuit. That just not satisfactory for me. So that is my experience. That is my observation, my feelings towards the race. It was good to run with Adley. I was very proud that he finished about a good hour before I did, and just to see and hear his experience and how much fun he had, and how it was just everything about the race and how he felt about it made me feel as if this was great for us. Good for him, good for me, and we do it together. He'll be going to the Navy in August, so this is kind of his last big event as a civilian. And then the military, he goes in and you have tons of other experiences. But I really, really enjoyed this experience. As an athlete, or as a competitor, not necessarily a competitor, I would say more as an athlete, I enjoy the struggle. I enjoy not being good at something and working towards getting better at it. So swimming, I need to do a lot more. Open water swimming, not the pool. Pool, I am good. Open water, I'm not. So that is, okay. Thought it was done. So on race day, I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go meet Adley at his place, so that way we can drive together to the race. And I lost my ID. So with no ID, you can't fly. So which means I have to wait until my passport is overnighted to me. You can't overnight anything on Sunday because there's nothing open on Sundays. So which means it has to be overnighted on Monday to arrive on Tuesday. And my plans were to leave on Sunday, so I'm here now an extra couple days here in Colorado. So I'm thinking it is just, I guess, something telling me to enjoy the day off, don't go back to work, and just enjoy the time off, enjoy the company that you're with, and have a good time in Colorado. As for my body was not sore, my legs were not sore, my shoulders are not sore. I mean, a little, but not where it's affecting the way I walk or affecting the way I move. Someone can't look at me and say, "Oh, you're sore." It was not that taxing on the muscles, but definitely taxing on the cardio. And so I'm glad I'm not sore, but very disappointed in my performance. So that is my experience with my half Ironman in Colorado, Boulder, Colorado. Had a great time, beautiful scenery, great company. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send it over to Adley and I'll have him explain his experience with the half Ironman in Boulder. So we will see you guys soon on, I don't know. I'm gonna stop doing these videos and just do workout videos from here on out until I get back into triathlon training. So this will be the last vlog for me. I've been doing vlogs pretty much every week for the last year and a half, just sharing my experiences. So Adley, please take over and tell us your experience.
What's up, YouTube? Here in Lake Tahoe. A few days after the end of the race, got home, got settled, and Omar asked me to record some thoughts. So I will, because I have a lot of them. The whole process was just so much fun. Training, getting ready, kind of having this to work towards for a couple months was really just such a gift, and I loved it. I'm really missing it right now. Having just a goal off in the future to pursue and work towards. And that kind of gave me some direction when it came to, some days I don't want to go on my run or go on my ride, but there was always this thing in the future that I had to go do eventually. Now that it's done, I'm kind of missing that push, but the race itself was such a good time. Showed up to Boulder on Thursday, got settled Friday, checked in all the gear, and definitely felt pretty nervous. Seeing all the people around. I was joking with Omar that, it looked like everybody there was more athletic than I was and was faster than I was and had nicer gear than I did. And so I was a little worried that I was out of my depth. But checked in the bikes, checked in, got my free gear and stuff, wearing the shirt because of course I am. I've barely taken this thing off since I got it. But checked in the gear, went for a swim with Omar in the reservoir. They had kind of buoys set up just to get used to the water temperature and the feeling of it. And I had never swam freshwater before. I'd only ever swam in the San Francisco Bay. So I was curious to see how it would feel compared to that. And the swim felt phenomenal. That was the only kind of training I did before the race. I didn't go like in Boulder. I didn't go on a run, didn't go on a ride. I didn't want to psych myself out, have a bad run and then get in my head about it. But the swim felt really, really good. Swam about 0.4 miles slowly. I kind of started building my confidence for the next day. But so Saturday morning, woke up at 5. There were shuttles to the start of the race, so we had to park in a lot and then wait in line for a shuttle. And that was at about 6, where we got on the shuttle and get to the gear at maybe 6:30. And I thought I had till 7:30 to get my gear on, but transition closed at 7:05, which I wish I had known. So I didn't have nearly as long to get ready as I thought I did. The people around us got to see the pro athletes finish their swim before we even got in the water. So I saw them kind of take off on the bike, which was cool. And just hanging out, slowly marching towards the front. And then all of a sudden, my feet are on carpet and the swim starts in front of me. And Omar and I get into 2 different lanes and he says, good luck, I'll see you at the end. And from that moment on, it was real, I was in it. And so, the race officials send groups into the water and I was up and they give you the thumbs up and you go. And when my feet were in the water, it was so surreal. There were so many people around. It took me a few minutes to get my bearings, just facing the water, swimming, which, itself is a pretty familiar sensation. But, I had so much adrenaline, so much excitement. I was getting kicked in the head. I was doing some kicking, finding a lane. And next thing I knew, I'm looking at the guy in front of me and he's standing up on the shore. And so I put my feet down and start walking up the ramp and the swim was over. And it was totally crazy. I looked down at my watch, 47-ish minutes to swim, which was phenomenal by my standards. And it was kind of just a blur, running up the ramp, getting the wetsuit off, seeing my family and friend cheering me on. My dad was nice enough. I forgot my sunglasses for the bike in the car in the morning, so he could hand them off to me. But I run back to the transition zone, talking with the people around me. They're all saying, oh, the hard part of the race is over, swim's over. Okay. But get my shoes on. My carb bottle is filled. I sucked down a gel, kind of jogged to the start. And next thing I know, I'm on the bike, I'm clipped in, I'm feeling good. And I get hit with a total wave of emotions. The swim was so kind of life or death. Didn't have time to really think about what I was doing. But on the bike, I calmed down and I could think, wow, like I'm doing it, it's happening. Which was just such an amazing feeling. But that first climb felt good. And then a big descent to the first aid station. My first mistake was here. I should have grabbed a water and a Gatorade and maybe even stopped to drink them both. But I ended up just grabbing a water. And from that moment forward, I was a little bit behind on my fluids, which came back to bite me in the run. But for the meantime, while I was riding, it didn't make much of a difference. I was still feeling good, flying. Second loop, starting to feel it a little bit. When I was finishing up my first loop biking, you could see the pros running, and so I was like, oh my god, like still have the run to do. And the second loop, energy wise, felt fine. Obviously it wasn't as fresh as I was the first loop, but my chafing got pretty gnarly on the second loop, to the point where for maybe the last quarter of that second loop, the issue wasn't my muscles or endurance, it was just being able to comfortably sit on the bike. But anyway, wrapped up the bike. Felt like it flew by and also took forever. And I come to transition again and not feeling as fired up as I was for the swim transition, but I'm still energetic. Like I've still got something in the tank. So, bike shoes come off, run shoes go on, down some more gels, put the run belt on and head out. And at this point, I'd been, I think I had like 2 or 3 Gatorades on the bike, and that was it. It should have been a lot more. And so the second I started the run, it felt good for the first maybe 4 miles, but I could tell that I was a little bit empty. And I wasn't quite sure why at the time, because I was staying on top of my nutrition, but not my hydration. It was a super hot day, no shade, just getting zapped by the sun. And so, the run starts out, I'm cranking like an 11-minute mile, 12, which in training, I assumed that I'd be able to do a 12-minute for 2.5 hours. And when I wrapped up the bike, it was just a little bit over 4 hours total moving time. And so I thought I had a 6:30, 6:45 in my grasp, 6:30 finish. But quickly, the run totally petered out. But, so finish up that first lap, pass, transition. The second lap kind of started in silence, and it actually ended up starting to rain. And the rain felt nice because I wasn't getting burned. Hail didn't feel nice because I was getting donked. But, kind of finished it out with a run walk. Second lap was, once I was 11, 12 miles in, there was the final mile. My sister came out to kind of run next to the course and encouraged me through to that final mile. And, that's when it really was dawning on me that I'm going to finish this. I'm going to finish it in the time I originally thought I was going to, which was 7:30. 6:30 was just a pleasant surprise. That was maybe the result of some mismanagement early on in the race. When my sister came out, ran me the last mile, didn't even feel like a mile because I had so much adrenaline that I could, turn the corner, saw the finish line, running up the hill, people screaming for you. And I wish that I was smiling more, but my face was kind of just neutral and dead. But on the inside, I was deeply emotional, and there was a few steps where I choked up a little bit. And then I crossed the finish line and got my medal, and all of a sudden it was over. This thing that I'd been working towards for months and I'd been grinding all day for, it was over. And I was so proud of myself. And it was such a rush. And, cheered on Omar. He came in just a couple minutes after me and got a photo together. And then, the fatigue set in, and did my best to stay standing while I grabbed the bike. But, at that point, my legs were cramping and I wanted to eat, but I wasn't hungry. Had to get some fluids, but wasn't thirsty. But, spent the rest of the day just recovering. Next time, I think what I'll do differently, because I really would like to do another one, is I need to take my brick workouts way more seriously. The bike runs. I had done bricks in the past, and, you bike for 3 hours, run for 45, and, it felt fine. But, you know, when I think back on my race, the first 45 minutes of the run felt fine. And then everything after that kind of fell apart. And so, you know, training the brick, maybe going a lot harder on the bike or a lot harder on the run after the bike to simulate the kind of fatigue I might be feeling. My run mileage has to be way higher. There was only once or twice, I think, where I even ran a full half marathon as a part of my training. I was running, you know, 9:10 comfortably. And I think next time, if I do it again, which I'd like to, I'd be wanting to run well over a half marathon as part of my training, you know. But those are my 3 big takeaways, you know. Brick harder, run longer, drink more. But this whole thing has been just so amazing. And I'm really grateful to Omar for asking me to be a part of it and for pushing me like this. You know, when I got the text from Omar about doing this half Ironman, I was, oh my gosh, I want to say 2 to 3 months out from a huge knee surgery that I had in July of last year. I dislocated my kneecap playing rugby and had a massive piece of cartilage ripped out of my knee. Took 2 surgeries to fix it. It was, you know, off the leg for 6 weeks, and eventually started to weight bear and rehab it extremely slowly. You know, I still remember very vividly the first day that leg touched the ground and how nervous I felt. And Omar texted me about the Ironman maybe a month after that moment, if I remember correctly, after the moment that I had first kind of put that foot back on the ground and was starting to get back on my feet. And at the time, it felt like, you know, such a kind of like crazy, lofty, impossible goal. You know, I said yes, like not entirely earnestly. I signed up for it, not entirely earnestly. Like with the possibility in the back of my mind that my rehab wouldn't be at a point that would allow me to run this race. Because, you know, when I said yes, I was barely able to bend my knee enough to make a full rotation on a bike. And so, you know, the thought of biking 56 miles powered was pretty far off. But, you know, this gave me something to work towards. And it gave me some intensity and focus to my PT and rehab that I wouldn't have had otherwise. You know, I was never intending to half-ass my recovery, my gift of mobility that I had been given by my surgeon and a tissue donor. But this meant that I had kind of an extra intensity to push myself through something that I'd never done before, much less right after a pretty major knee surgery. So, you know, just huge thank you to him for letting me know that this is something I can do, something I'm capable of. I'm really proud of myself. I'm thankful for him, thankful for my family. And, you know, I'll absolutely be back to do another. Anyway, I'll see you guys later.